Hello friends, Melly Ponpadith here, CEO of the SOAR Community Network and co-founder SOAR Community Nebula. We're bringing to you this year 1,000 champions of change and community builders. I'm delighted to bring to you one of my dear friends, Karen Long. Karen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I feel really honored to be part of your lineup.
Oh, don't be honored. You are so special and we love you very much. So please let us know where you're dialing in from and tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Okay. Well, we met in the Washington, D.C. area, and I had my business there for a long time doing professional headshots for people and their businesses. And about a year and a half ago, my husband and I relocated to Santa Fe, New Mexico, hence the color palette. Anyway, it's been quite a journey moving so far away from the DC area. I've never lived in the Southwest, and it's a very it's a unique setting and a unique community. It's a very small community. So having grown up in New York City and lived in Washington, D.C. for most of my life, it's really a big, big adjustment. But I'm adjusting and I love it. My business has evolved into more video because they're much more relevant here. And so now this is the third largest art market in the country, which is something I didn't know. And a lot of artists need representation, for people to see their work. So I started approaching artists and authors and really creative types mostly, not just regular businesses, to create compelling videos that tell their story and bring their work to life. So that's what I've done. I did one for the Santa Fe Studio Tour, which is an annual event held every year for 2 weekends where people can go and actually visit studios and meet artists and see and hear how they work. I photographed a blacksmith and collage artist and painters and sculptors. It's a real artsy place. So that is the industry here, is fine art.
Wow,
and crazy art.
I have to come visit. I want to be around the crazies.
It must be the most colorful place on the planet, which for anybody who knows me, color is my narcotic of choice. And I'm really getting fed my drug of choice. In the paper the other day, I didn't know this, but apparently this is sort of a worldwide destination. It's like maybe the 13th destination and the second in the country. Wow. It's a big tourist trap. So come and visit. It's a great place.
I'm going to take you up on that offer. Well, now we're going to shift and talk about your personal journey in terms of the leaders in your life, the mentors in your life, people who have really impacted you in a positive way, help perhaps even shift your mindset trajectory in a profound way. Do you have any anecdotes or stories that you can share with us?
Sure. The two people who have really shaped my life the most are an instructor I met when I wanted to switch schools in college. I got a camera and I had a lucky accident and I sold a photograph to American Greetings, which was like the hallmark of the time. So I got a check for $100 and I just was delirious. I was a teenager and wow, look at this. I could make money at this if I only knew what I was doing. So I took a photography class. I was at the University of Buffalo in Western New York State. And someone in my class said, hey, you're really into this stuff. Did you know you can get a 4-year degree an hour east of here at a school called Rochester Institute of Technology? I'd never heard of this place before. So the instructor walks by and he hears the conversation and he says, you'll never get in. So for me, that's jet fuel. I grew up on you'll never get this. And that's really my ticket to like, well, maybe not. So I jump on a bus. I go to Rochester. I meet this guy. He looks like Rumpelstiltskin. He has a long white beard. He's shorter than me. And how can I help you? So I said, well, I heard this was a great place to go to school. And he says, oh, well, okay. Do you have a portfolio? And I said, yeah, I have these 2 prints. So he said, well, do you know any alumni here? Do you know anyone? No. Well, this is not a state school like State University at Buffalo. do you have any money? No, I just heard it was a great school. So, okay, the interview's over. You'll hear from our people will talk to your people. So I figure I'm never going to hear from this guy again. Meanwhile, I get a letter about a week later saying I can come as a special student for 10 weeks just to visit. And I never left. I transferred. And Doug Little was my mentor. I took every class he gave. He taught photo illustration, portraiture, color theory, all kinds of food from my head. And I was gonzo on this stuff. I just didn't know what day it was. It could be 10 feet of snow outside. I didn't care. I was just into it. I knew him for most of his life. I met him, oh my God, I knew him longer than my own father. And he walked me down the aisle at my wedding 10 years ago. It's just unbelievable. He was 91. So I knew him until he was 98. And he really taught me how to see light, how to communicate to people, to be comfortable and just be yourself on camera, which is what people agonize over. And I just learned so much about photographing people and how to be with people, especially in a nonverbal communicative way. So that's really been a very big influence. The other person was a Black housekeeper who really helped me grow up, because my parents were really preoccupied with their own lives, and they just sort of hired someone to do the parenting and take care of my brother and myself. So she became my mother and was just so unconditionally loving and present and available where my parents weren't. So I just got so much from her, and I never thought about her until I grew up. Being a member of the white race, I moved to New Mexico and I found myself in a group called Exploring Whiteness. What a strange class. It just sounded interesting to me because I never explored my whiteness, and I never thought about being white unless I checked off a questionnaire. And I realized that white is a race. And as it turns out, there are lots of these groups springing up. So I'm hearing a lot about things like white privilege and what do they call that? Unconscious bias, when people just treat each other differently. And having thought about this woman and what she endured in the 60s and 70s as a person of color, I just became more sensitized to it. I thought of her a lot more, and I started wondering this year what I could do with my video to possibly thank her, because I was just a self-absorbed teenager when I last saw her and never did let her know that she was the most important person to me in my childhood.
Wow.
That's what I say. Wow. I was so lucky.
So Karen, the next question that I have for you is, when you think of community builders, when you think of champions of change, when you reflect on the two people in your life who has made an impact, and you think about others that you have experienced through your career, through your personal journey, what are some of the attributes that you admire or that you've seen consistently over time with these souls that really do care about things greater than themselves and their ego?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. They care about other things besides themselves. There are so many organizations here that work to help other people. I think the person I admire the most is the person who introduced me to Santa Fe. She's a friend, retired lawyer from Washington, D.C., and an accomplished painter. She did this painting behind me. And she works with several organizations, but one of them is called the Interfaith Coalition. They work education is the biggest need here. We're just at the bottom of the barrel as far as early childhood education. So she's working to help that improve. Also, she's part of a group of people who take in immigrants and refugees, and they can live with her for a while in her home with her family while they get their immigration status settled. And it's such an amazing refuge for these people. And some of them don't even speak English. They're from all over the world. And it's just a great refuge that people can draw on. And she's part of that. So I just admire that she's going out of her way to help these causes.
Yeah. There's so much goodness going on in the world. We just don't spotlight them in the news. And this is part of the journey for us too, is to highlight people like you and people like your friend who are out there every day making a difference. So thank you for sharing that. She's kind and generous and loving and definitely empathetic and compassionate, right?
Right. Kind of like you.
You're so sweet. You and all the people in our lives that we keep with us, because you know, we have the same values, and I think that's really important to understand what our values are.
That's it.
So let's talk now about other causes or initiatives, or how you personally, I think you touched upon some of this already, how you personally want to give of your knowledge, time, skills, resources to advance missions and movements and organizations forward. So would you like to highlight a few causes or initiatives?
I don't have a name for this one, and I don't know where it fits into maybe something that's already going on, but something that just kind of hits me all the time is how important effective communication is. I meet people all the time who are just IQ smart and socially out to lunch. And I just feel that what you can't communicate controls you. It just seems so powerful to me when I see people struggling. So I think using the videos to help people communicate more effectively is part of that. I don't know what else I can do with that yet, but it's on my mind a lot. I really do feel that there's something I can do with it, since it's so important to me. And of course, the other thing is to help people of color be supported and be part of the whole playing field that people of privilege like me, I didn't realize I was a person of privilege until recently, have been playing on my whole life without even feeling aware of it. So in these groups that I've joined, the Exploring Whiteness group, I have a book group. There's another group that's really looking to help other people like me recognize who we are in the world and what we've been given, and how we can share it with people who don't have the same privilege, how we can even out the playing field for them, and allow them to feel more welcome and more part of our culture. And that is something that here in New Mexico, there are lots of immigrants, but mostly from Mexico, a lot of indigenous people, a lot of people, American Indian people. And there's all kinds of tension here around those two groups, and white people like me who can afford to move here, middle-class people. So that's something that I've started exploring in a class I've taken in documentary film. It didn't get finished last year because some of the people I wanted to interview were out of town or unavailable, and I had to really stop because I couldn't finish it. But I'll pick it up again in the fall and see how I can take that message to a screen where people can really understand how privileged we are and what we can do with it, how we can share it.
Karen, I have to say, I really appreciate you. That's why I love you, for even bringing this up and dialoguing about it. Talking about these things is I think the first step to better understanding one another. Confessing the fact that you didn't know what you didn't know. And it doesn't have to be to a level of apology, just noticing and acknowledging where we are and what are causing some of these unconscious biases, right? What has been gifted to us, good or bad, through our lifetime. And the rewiring that it has to take, but the co-creation that has to happen of this new story, this new relationship that can be formed once your mind and heart are open to seeing things differently, to opening up relationships in a new way. So it's just, the honesty is so refreshing, and I appreciate you for sharing where you stand right now.
Yeah, I think it's really up to white people to change. I think everyone who has any friends or relatives of color knows the struggle that they've been going through, and they don't want to talk about it anymore. They just want to feel that it's safe to talk without having to check in. Is it okay to be Black today? Is it okay to be Asian today? Is it okay to be Latin American today? And to have people recognize that just because their descendants came from who knows where, that when you say, where are you from? It's not that you're different. You're an American. People here are American. We're all American. We're not, we're not Malaysian. We're not African American. We're all human. We're all part of the human race. And I think it's time that we acknowledged the fact that it's difficult to communicate without that willingness.
I think you just answered the last question that I had for this interview, which is, what would a better world look like through your eyes? And you just told us what that would look like.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a question. People would just communicate without worrying, is it okay? They would just be themselves. And as Oscar Wilde says, what does he say? Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I love that quote.
Yes, I love that quote as well. And I think that it's true. I think that once we can come to terms with who we are, wherever we are, just wherever we came from originally, our parents came from, or our ancestors came from, once we can come to terms with our own sense of identity and be proud of it and fall in love with the whole history of who we are as a full package, I think the world will also start to feel and look more beautiful. It does start inward for all of us, whether you are white or Asian or whatever these silly categories are.
Whatever box you check.
Whatever, I think it comes down to truly having a real human experience and exchange between two beings that want to understand and reach out to one another. So.
Yeah, and I think we all want to feel more hopeful about that at this time in history. It's been a pretty rough few years to see what's going on in the news. And boy, I really hope I can do anything to impact that, anything at all.
Yes. Well, Karen, one question that I had is, when you have gone through difficult times or challenges, is there a motto or quote or anything that will help to ground you? You mentioned the quote recently, but there's another one that you want to share?
Well, usually when I'm stuck, it's because I'm thinking the same thing over and over again. And I like to step out of my thinking because it's not getting me anywhere. And I think there's a quote from Albert Einstein about if you change, I wrote it down. I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. So if I'm trying to change, I have to be willing to let go of my loopy thinking and just don't try harder. Just let go and let something new come in. So
I love that. Sometimes we try so hard to make things make sense, when it really is, sometimes things just don't make sense, right? You just have to let it go and allow it naturally to take its course. I love that so much. And in fact, I think that's the first time I've heard that quote in this interview series, but it's a beautiful one. Karen, how can we as a community support you right now? Is there anything that we can do? Are there people that you need to highlight or want to get introduced to you for all these beautiful projects and initiatives that you want to launch? How can we help you?
I think because I don't have a really solid idea of how I can use my skills, I wouldn't mind anyone sending me an idea. I'm open to anything right now. I've seen so much that other people are doing that has really impacted me. Jane Elliott, who did this crazy study in the 50s of blue eyes and brown eyes with third graders, she started treating them as if they were black and white. And boy, if I could meet her, I know I could get an idea, but she's probably not. If anybody knows Jane Elliott, I'd love to know how I can get in touch with her. She's my idol. And you can see her video. It's just mind-blowing how she's really done what I just talked about hoping to do, to show the world there's no difference. We're part of the human race, all of us.
Karen, thank you so much for being a part of this. I love this conversation. I love it. And you and I have a personal relationship. We know each other. So it's extra special that we can dialogue about these things. You know,
Yeah.
me being from a different place, but being an American at the same time, and having a friend in you that can have these honest conversations without feeling judged or without making you wrong or me wrong or anything. Just talking to one another to create a stronger sense of understanding.
That's the goal, to have safe, effective communication with anyone. That is the goal.
Great. Any final words of wisdom or thoughts before we close out our interview today?
No, I'm just always learning, always enjoy learning, and I learn a lot from you and your videos, and I'm just honored to be part of the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. We're honored to know you. We're really grateful, and you've supported us so much through the years, so we appreciate you. Thank you again. For those that are watching, please remember, as I always ask, nominate yourself or someone in your community who's making a huge difference. We'd love to feature them and highlight all the great things they're doing to reshape this world. Please visit us at nebula.soarcommunitynetwork.com.